Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow is Transgender Day of Visibility, held annually on March 31st. Transgender Day of Visibility is a time to celebrate the transgender and non-binary community and any individual's courage to live open and authentic lives. Although we are emerging from a nightmarish 4 years of national leadership that practiced scapegoating on a massive scale at the very top, and as we continue to endure a once-in-a-century global pandemic, it may feel difficult to reflect on and pivot to the positive. But we must, we can, and we should. There is so much to celebrate. So why do we celebrate this special day? We must elevate the visibility of this community in order to move past entrenched societal prejudices. In the past year, there have been some amazing accomplishments from the community. In the 2020 general election, voters elected 6 transgender candidates to statewide office. Openly trans candidates were elected or re-elected in Arkansas, California, Colorado, Delaware, Illinois, Kansas, New Hampshire, and Vermont. The LGBTQ Victory Fund reports that the total number of transgender elected officials nationwide jumped from an existing 28 to 32. That is progress. At the federal level, President Biden overturned the ban on transgender individuals serving in the military, another victory for visibility and inclusivity for all transgender people, and a repudiation of policies rooted in hate and ignorance. President Biden has even made history by nominating Dr. Rachel Levine as the first ever transgender cabinet-level member. Now confirmed by the Senate, Dr. Levine will be the highest-ranking openly transgender person to serve in United States government, serving as the Assistant Secretary for Health to California's own Javier Becerra. These wins are a signal that transgender people are gaining acceptance on a national level in our political arenas. And locally, here in Los Angeles, we have outstanding leaders who have their fingers on the pulse of the thriving transgender community in our city. Today, I am literally thrilled to share with you this year's Trans Day of Visibility honorees, Hopics at Casa De Zuma and Invisible Men. In just a moment, we'll spotlight how they are making a difference in the lives of the trans community throughout the city of Los Angeles. We'll also hear from our great city ally, Capri Maddox, General Manager of the Civil plus Human Rights and Equity Department, who works very closely with our Transgender Advisory Council, and its chairwoman, Karina Samala, who has also joined us today. To help introduce the chairwoman, it is my pleasure and honor to welcome a dear and treasured friend and fierce advocate for the LGBTQ plus community, Los Angeles Police Department Assistant Chief Beatrice Girmala. Chief Girmala, take it away.
Thank you so much, Councilmember O'Farrell. Thank you for allowing me this privilege. So every once in a while, life gives you the gift of having somebody come into your world that makes it better and makes you better as a human being. That person, for me, approximately 14 years ago, was Mother Karina Samala. A leader, an icon, a treasure. The leadership that Karina shows, not only to the transgender community, but the entire LGBTQ community, and all those who count themselves in as allies, not only for the fights of yesterday, but the fight still that we must endure for future equality. I consider it a privilege to have this opportunity to give this preface to her introduction. I must add also that, Karina, I owe you so many debts of gratitude for being one of the best teachers. I affectionately call Karina my professor because she taught me so much more about the community, the trials, the tribulations, the quiet victories, and sadly, sometimes the quiet despair. And she has been that beacon of light for us all. It is absolutely my pleasure and privilege to introduce my friend and the iconic Mother Karina Samala.
Thank you so very much, Chief Grimala and Councilmember Mitch for your leadership and support for our community, which I call my family. Each year, you have lifted up our community by hosting this event and highlighting our challenges and our collective achievements. And while we can't meet in person quite yet, providing this opportunity to my community proves your unwavering dedication, and I thank you so much. I'm here today to represent the City of Los Angeles Transgender Advisory Council and all the transgender and gender non-binary community members. The TAC is an advisory council made up of transgender and non-binary persons determined to support and advocate for equitable policies and legislation which tackle the issues that matter most to our community. I would like to acknowledge our TAC members, leaders of our community, who is members of this TAC. Gia Olais, James Nguyen, Jasmine Creighton, Maria Roman, Lucky Alexander, Sabel Simon Loreca, Tiana Herrera, and Eden Luna. We are proud of our achievements, and I'm personally humbled by our deeply talented and thoughtful council that have placed their trust in me to continue to be a fierce advocate for our community. We are particularly grateful for the partnership we have forged with the Civil and Human Rights and Equity Department under the leadership of Madam Director Capri Maddox. With her support and the support of the council member Mitch, we have been able to advocate for the full funding of AB 2218, the Transgender Wellness and Equity Fund, which will provide medical, mental health, and housing for our community. The expanded and street-level outreach to our community during the pandemic by the Midnight Stroll. And we have also been able to work with City Personnel Department to develop a transgender and gender diverse inclusivity training that will be made available to all city employees. We have all straightened and continued to advocate for the safety of our community. And in doing so, we have developed a deep partnership with LAPD through our amazing guardian angel, Chief B. Grimala. Thank you. On behalf of the Transgender Advisory Council, I want to thank the General Manager Capri Maddox, TAC Coordinator Francisco Ortega, for ensuring that we continue to thrive and remain engaged. Remember, everyone, to wear your mask and please get vaccinated. Thank you, and happy Transgender Day of Visibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mother Karina, for your lovely remarks just now and all that you do. You exemplify such great leadership because you share it with your whole team and you uplift and highlight the great volunteerism and collaboration that it takes to make real change, and you exhibit that in your own volunteerism, and we look up to you. Your tireless work has inspired an entire generation of transgender individuals, kept them safe, shown them love and respect, and guided them to their best lives. And now, let's take a moment for the members of the TAC, the Transgender Advisory Council, to introduce themselves to us. We have a video.
We are the Los Angeles Transgender Advisory Council.
The purpose of the TAC is to advise the mayor, city council, elected officials, and governmental agencies on how to implement policy, programs, and projects that tackle the issues that matter the most to the transgender community in Los Angeles.
We are community-led.
We are project-based.
And we are policy-oriented.
Hello, my name is Karina Samala. I'm the chair of the Transgender Advisory Council. My pronouns are she and her. We're here to stay. We need to be respected.
Hello, my name is Eden Anai Luna, and my pronouns are they and them. The transgender and non-binary communities need your support because the youth and our future is fluid.
Hello, my name is Lucky Alexander, and my pronouns are he, him, and Superman. I think it is important that my community is visible because trans men exist too.
Hi, my name is Maria Roman, and my pronouns are she, hers, hers. I think it is important that my community is visible because our lives depend on it, and our future is trans-led.
Hello, my name is James Wen, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. I choose to serve my community because our courageous voice and resilience transforms the world.
My name is Jasmine Creighton, and my pronouns are genderful and gender fierce. I feel it's important that we are visible because our lives matter.
And we will not be erased.
So everyone out there, let's hear it once more for the entire Advisory Council. Members Karina Samala, our chair, Jasmine Creighton, Alexander Lucky Fuller, otherwise known as Superman, Tiana Herrera, Eden Anai Luna, Gia Ryan Olais, Maria Roman, Sabel Simone Lareca, and James Wen. Our next speaker is the Madame herself, Capri Maddox. Capri, when Karina called you Madame, that might just stick. So now I have to think of you differently. So Capri is our friend, our ally, general manager of the Civil and Human Rights and Equity Department, a lifelong resident of Los Angeles, and graduate of Cal State LA. Capri has served the city of Los Angeles for nearly 30 years with the Board of Public Works, Office of the City Attorney, LAUSD, and more. In 2020, Capri was tapped by Mayor Eric Garcetti to lead the new Civil Rights Department. In this role, she is launching a discrimination enforcement arm, leading on equity and empowerment and supporting human and civil rights commissions in the city, including the Transgender Advisory Council. I am pleased and honored to introduce our friend, General Manager Capri Maddox.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Mitchell Farrell, for that lovely, warm introduction, and to Karina for my new name. Definitely anything that Karina does is definitely cherished by our department, and she continues to lift people up everywhere she goes. And it is truly an honor to have her as a friend in the fight for justice with the Civil Rights Department. Definitely, Councilmember Mitchell Farrell, just want to thank you for your continued leadership in supporting LA's diverse communities, and just for standing up wherever there's a need for strong leadership. We appreciate you and celebrate you. I wanted to do a special thank you to Mother Karina Samala and the entire Transgender Advisory Council for making today a success. It is an honor to work with you on this council as we serve Los Angeles's transgender communities. Today is a day of celebration of transgender lives, and this celebration is needed now more than ever. We have seen a lot of pain in this past year. The transgender community in Los Angeles continues to face violence, discrimination, and inequities. But this community is strong. This community is resilient. And this community should be proud of how far they've come. We may not be where we want to be, but we sure aren't where we used to be. As Councilmember Mitchell Farrell mentioned, transgender individuals reach new highs this year, including the highest levels of government. And the transgender community in Los Angeles can be very proud that this city was one of the first in the nation to establish a transgender advisory council. And much of that credit goes to Mayor Eric Garcetti, Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell, who's been a champion and a fighter in this space, and of course, our very own beloved mother, Karina Samala, who also created a transgender advisory council for the city of West Hollywood as well. Los Angeles is just lucky to have transgender leaders in government, in healthcare, entertainment, and business. The transgender community has creatives, organizers, small business owners that make Los Angeles stronger and a more vibrant place to live. A rising tide lifts all boats, and we all need to rise together here in Los Angeles. And that is why in the city of Los Angeles, we need to remain committed to building a city where everyone feels safe and empowered, because only when someone is able to be their authentic self, their talents and their creativity can truly shine. And we need your shining light here in Los Angeles, whether it is the leadership of Hopix at Casa De Zuma, or providing a safe and affirming housing opportunity for trans and non-binary people in South Los Angeles, or the community of invisible men. Thank you, Lucky, for creating safe spaces for trans men of color. The talent and service of our transgender community, and I'm thinking of, Jasmine, Luna, all those that just really serve to stand up, and James to like help people as we build hope here in Los Angeles and save lives. I especially want to just close in gratitude with thanks again to Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell and his team. You all just make things happen all the time to serve all communities that are in need. And I really want to also acknowledge our honorees. Today is your day. This is about, celebrating you and your work. And to our entire Transgender Advisory Council. And of course, definitely want to give a special shout out to, of course, the LA Civil Rights team. But I really want to thank our very own Francisco Ortega, who works closely with the Transgender Advisory Council from the beginning to constantly empower their voices. I have the privilege of enjoying the monthly meetings and witnessing the work of the Transgender Advisory Council. And I'll tell you this, their leadership is deeply needed at LA Civil Rights and throughout our city. These leaders have not only changed the visibility of the transgender community, but have changed city policy to make it more equitable and more inclusive for all trans residents. It's an honor to work with you all and to be a part of this celebration. And I just want to say loud and clear to our transgender family, you are here, you are valued, you are supported, and today you are celebrated. Thank you, and happy Transgender Day of Visibility.
Capri, thank you. That was beautiful. And we're all so fortunate to benefit from your experience and your talents. I think I count my blessings every day that you are where you are in these efforts. So thanks a million. Your efforts to address injustices and provide solutions through equity initiatives while addressing the needs of the transgender community are helping to change the landscape of the entire city. And now I have the honor and privilege to create policy, thanks to all the great work of these groups that have been mentioned, for the benefit of the LGBT communities. I've collaborated with the TAC and the city departments on creating the first of its kind transgender and gender diverse inclusivity training for city staff, which will be rolling out this year. And that was also through the incredible work of Chief Grimala. This will make Los Angeles the largest municipality to require inclusivity trainings strictly on the topic of transgender and gender diverse communities. And that means all city departments, fire, police, everyone. I am proud to work with State Legislator, Assembly Member Miguel Santiago, who is dedicated to working to improve the quality of life for for the transgender community with the creation of the Transgender Wellness and Equity Fund, otherwise known as Assembly Bill 2218. 2 weeks ago, I submitted a city resolution at the recommendation of the TAC for the city to include in its state legislative program the support and sponsorship for legislation or administrative action to fully fund AB 2218 at a minimum of $15 million. So this is the TAC's work that is resulting in real funding to further our efforts. That's what good volunteerism does. It is important now more than ever that this Assembly bill meet this financial minimum, as the community has historically been one of the most, let me say it again, the most marginalized and overlooked communities in the state and the country. With the continued support of Mayor Eric Garcetti, we will continue to fight for this bill, which will fund grants to organizations serving people that identify as transgender, gender nonconforming, or intersex, so that they may create or fund specific housing programs and partnerships with hospitals, healthcare clinics, and medical providers. Looking to help the community beyond Los Angeles city limits, my work with the TAC also includes partnering with the Salvadoran American Leadership and Education Fund, Casa Libre, and Equality California. Together, we all organized a delegation to provide outreach and services to the LGBTQ plus asylum seekers a few years back that were awaiting entry into the United States, many of whom were living in shelters in Tijuana. Back at home, the TAC and I, aided by the phenomenal work provided by the Asian Pacific AIDS Intervention Team and partnership with the Los Angeles Police Department, we continue to fund and execute the Midnight Stroll program, one of B. Grimala's great ideas that we all support and uplift. The Midnight Stroll events serve to conduct outreach and provide information on social services to transgender sex workers. And for community members experiencing homelessness, the funding of this program includes emergency shelter beds. The responsibility to house our transgender community is important work. At the forefront of this work is HOPIX at Casa De Zuma. Casa Zuma provides bridge housing for transgender and clients of APAIT. The home located in Mid-City provides a safe place and dedicated space for those needing housing within the trans community. The house is named after Zulma Velasquez, a dedicated advocate for her community, volunteering many nights, participating in the Midnight Stroll in its early months. Our beloved friend passed away in August of 2019. So help me welcome Veronica Lewis, Director of HOPIX. HOPIX works closely with APIT and its clients at Casa Zuma to place folks into more permanent housing. Welcome. So great to have you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Councilmember O'Farrell, for honoring us today and for including us in this Transgender Day of Visibility. As I was preparing for today, I started to reflect, and it led me to think about how today really aligns with what HOPIX's core focus is, which is to literally restore a sense of humanity, respect, and dignity and connection for people who are marginalized and seemingly invisible. And as one of the lead housing and homeless service providers in LA County, HOPIX, which is a division of special service for groups, is constantly faced with new challenges. And we considered our mission not to just identify the gaps, but to actually take steps to find creative solutions to address them. So about 5 years ago, we started to hear stories firsthand about the discomfort, sometimes violence, and other unacceptable experiences that people who are transgender or gender nonconforming were experiencing at shelters. And so in coordination with our sister agency, APAIT, I started to talk to jury and we started to think about, well, what can we do to create a safe space for trans women? In particular, at the time, we were focused on trans women of color. And so in 2019, when a funding opportunity became available, it literally just said it was for bridge housing for women. We said, this is the time. We had done enough talking. We had thought about some of the nuances that needed to be considered. And so what we now know as Casa De Zuma was born, which is groundbreaking in itself because it was the first publicly funded interim housing site specifically for people that are transgender. I will say though, we had to fight for it. We had to fight because people said you couldn't focus on the trans population. We had to fight related to some other zoning things within the city of LA, but we overcame those challenges and proudly opened Casa De Zuma on December 18th, 2019. And every night we're keeping 16 women off the street in a safe, affirming, and culturally responsive environment. Since our opening, we've housed over 73 women, of which 15 have already moved on to permanent housing. And participants continually express to us as they enter the door and as they become a part of the community at Casa De Zuma that they feel heard, seen, and understood, and most of all, supported. So thank you to all the APAIT staff and HOPIX team members. From APAIT, special thanks to Jury and Jasmine, and from my own team, Victor James, LaConda Horn, and Braley Bullard, who actually make this thing happen every day. And we don't see Casa De Zuma as the end. We see it as the beginning, in hopes that we knock down the door and continue to create affirming and designated spaces for people who are trans and gender nonconforming. There is a lot more work to do, and we look forward to being a part of that effort and pushing against the status quo so that everybody in Los Angeles has a safe and affirming place to lay their head every night. Thank you so much.
Veronica, I can't thank you enough for taking us through what it really requires, the incredible hard work it is to place someone permanently on a path to wellness. Some folks out there just think, well, you can just move people from a tent into a permanent house and go to the next one. It's so much more complex than that, and we all know that. And so the work that you do at Casa De Zuma, I think, helps write a new playbook and really underscores the level of detail and the level of commitment it takes, and never giving up on any one individual ever, and sticking with them until they're on that path to wellness. And it might take weeks, months, or even years, and we know that. So for people viewing this, realize that the crises out there is so very complex, and then add the realities of being within the transgender community with all of the societal biases and prejudices, then that just adds a whole new level of complication. So the work that you do is nothing short of amazing. You're pioneers in this space, and so we all congratulate HOPIX at Casa De Zuma for your selection as an honoree at this year's Transgender Day of Visibility. Bravo.
Thank you.
It is now my delight to introduce the next honoree, Invisible Men. Invisible Men is a platform for all trans men and non-binary transmasculine people and their families to seek resources such as emotional, medical, and mental health support. This organization is the embodiment of trans visibility. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome our Superman of the hour and my dear friend. Let's welcome Lucky Alexander, the director of your organization. It's just incredible, and so we're happy to have you, Lucky. Talk a little bit about your organization and tell us what you do.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Farrell. I appreciate us being honored, and just a little bit about Invisible Men. It all started because as I moved through my transition, I realized there weren't any resources for transmasculine folks, and more specifically, transmasculine folks of color. As I was transitioning, I realized that there wasn't a reflection for me to look at, and there weren't any ways for me to kind of navigate. And because of that, I didn't want other folks that walked my journey to have to go through that type of situation. And so, we wanted to build visibility, and that's where we started. Was 3 years ago, I said, let's get some stories, let's show some folks who we are and how we navigate through the world, and kind of really change how masculinity is looked at. So, I started to gather some of my friends, and we got together and really kind of shared those narratives and shared those stories around what does it look like to walk through the world as a transmasculine folk. And as we started to gain visibility, then resources started to kind of find us. And if we couldn't find the resources that we needed around medical, mental health, all of these other healing pieces, we created them. So, like I said, we launched Invisible Men 2018, literally tomorrow would be our 3rd anniversary. And since we have grown our legacy family to 36 now, and we have been able to give out 35 binders with the help of Unique Women's Coalition and Them Boys. We were able to give out 35 binders over the last Christmas season. Wow, in so many different countries and cities, not just in California. And so our legacy family spans from California to New York and all of the cities and states in between. And we've been able to provide that support that a lot of our transmasculine folks don't have in the cities that they reside in. So just being able to do that and being able to work with Councilmember O'Farrell's office to provide that service here in LA for folks. But it kind of spans out, like I said, again, across the nation. So we've been able to really do a lot of good work across the nation. We've built a mentorship program. We're currently working on a housing program in Atlanta and Virginia. We're going to do a health fair in Virginia at the end of the year. So there's a lot of things that are coming up, and a lot of things that are kind of in the boiler. But we've been able to do this with a team of volunteers. Literally, our team is all volunteers. And so I want to definitely shout out the team that has been the team that really has made this happen. So Dre Winston out in Virginia, we have Shane and Jaden and Mallory that are here. Those are part of our legacy team. And then we have Jack in Atlanta. So our team across the nation has made this happen. So I'm not a one-man show, and definitely I want to uplift my team in this because they really made this happen. And as well, all of the legacies that shared their stories, it doesn't make sense without them. So I absolutely want to uplift all of those folks that share their stories on our platform.
Lucky, you are such an example in such an obvious and beneficial way. There's no way to quantify all of the folks that you've given hope to. You and I talked about this in a one-on-one conversation some months ago, but there's just no telling how many people you fortified, how many people you helped and keep them from going over the edge because they realized they weren't alone, right. that they had a community behind them, and all because you have elevated that visibility in this community. And so that's why you're a pioneer. That's why you're one of our selected honorees today. We can't thank you enough. And just a little sort of info about Lucky is that he is the designer of the All Black Lives Matter graphics that we put on the ground permanently last summer on Hollywood Boulevard. And we worked with Lucky and his team and my team and Trailer Park and the Hollywood community. And it has become a permanent cultural element for the city of Los Angeles. And it's just been seen all over the world. It was even part of the Biden-Harris inauguration. I mean, that's how big of an impact you made with the All Black Lives Matter on Hollywood Boulevard. So we applaud you for that too. And that's not even why you're getting honored today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I also want to make sure that we don't live out paving solutions. They were definitely part of the second iteration. So I definitely want to Hans and all of those folks over there.
I'm so glad you brought them up too, working with Trailer Park and Paving Solutions. This was an all-in labor of total love. It was the most incredible moment. So thank you for that. And congratulations to Invisible Men for your selection as an honoree at this year's Transgender Day of Visibility. And for all Angelenos, that wraps up this year's presentation. I am proud to announce that my office has sponsored the lighting of Los Angeles City Hall in the transgender pride colors since last week through tomorrow. May it be a symbol that the needs of the transgender and non-binary communities are being heard, seen, and addressed in our great city. So, panelists, thank you all so much. Viewers, listeners, thank you. Let's keep doing this incredible work. Let's elevate the visibility. Let's change things in our great city and beyond. Be well, stay safe, and next year we'll all celebrate in person. Thank you, and may God bless.